Hey everyone, it's Shantel here, and it has been wonderful to see more and more of you as time has gone on. It really has been a blessing to meet again in person, and even with some of you students last week being able to hang out again for the first time in a long time. I think sometimes the saying is true that you don't realize how much you love something until it's gone, but being able to see you really just reminds me of how beautiful and how big of a blessing it is to have our community, to have our church family, and to be able to see one another again has just been awesome. And I feel like right now during this season of life, as we're transitioning back into what we were used to beforehand, and even as some more questions rise up about what is the school year going to look like, or what is this going to look like, or how is this going to work out or play, or whatever it may be, there's so many things that are going on, so many questions that we have that might not necessarily have the answers right away. And I feel like during that, God has really challenged me to think about the things that I need to trust Him with more. There's so many instances in my own life when I would say, yes, I am trusting God. I know that God is good. But in those situations that weren't so good, I realized there was a little bit of tension within myself because I would say, yes, I'm trusting in God with this, but I didn't necessarily rely on Him fully. And by those moments, I would just feel so discouraged and alone in that. But what I want to do today is talk about this passage in 2 Corinthians because I think it reminds us all that we're not alone in that struggle. There's so many instances that might come up in your own life, and maybe this might help you through it too. So we're going to be jumping into 2 Corinthians, and this is Paul writing his second letter to the Corinthians. So in the first letter to the Corinthians, they were talking about all these different things that were going on within the church. But now what Paul is doing is encouraging them and reminding them that God is their source of comfort. And so we're going to be jumping in right into the first chapter, verses 8. We're going to start right there. So we think you ought to know, dear brothers and sisters, about the trouble we went through in the province of Asia. We were crushed and overwhelmed beyond our ability to endure. And we thought we would never live through it. In fact, we expected to die. But as a result, we stopped relying on ourselves and learned to rely only on God, who raises the dead. And He did rescue us from mortal danger, and He will rescue us again. We have placed our confidence in Him, and He will continue to rescue us. So my question for you today is this: what is it right now in your life? Maybe it's something that came up today, maybe it's something that's deeper within you. What is it right now in your life that you need to learn to rely on God for? And we see that even in Paul's life, when he was with those other people, they were facing affliction and they needed to learn how to trust God and depend on Him during those moments. And even when we expect the worst, and in the case of Paul, they expected to die. And in my own life, when maybe I expect the things or the worst case scenario, that's what I expect. Even in moments like that, Paul reminds us that God is still at work. Even when it might look like what we were hoping for, or even when it might not look like what we're hoping for. So the evidence is right here. And my question for you, one more time, is how can you right now in your life rely and learn to rely on God more? There's so many great things that come from this. And the why is this. So learning to trust in God grows your faith, and the way that you live your life, and in your transparency about those things that you are going through, people notice that. Whether it be someone maybe someone else that you know also believes in Jesus, but even for the people who might not know who Jesus is just yet, the way that you learn to trust and depend on God is something that people notice. And it might even be a great conversation for people, whether you're in the grocery store, whether you are in your place of work, whether you're in your school, depending on if that's going to happen in the fall or not. Wherever you are, you're hanging out with your friends, wherever you are in your life, it can be a testimony of the power of God and your ability to grow and learn more and draw near to Him and seeing what He does within you. So be thinking about that this week in CCF. I hope to see you soon.